everyone, and welcome back to the United Star. Today, we're doing a very special preview of the Leipzig game in the Champions League. And we've got two special fans from She Devils United, Mary and Mipo. And of course, we've got Rishi as well after a long time. So let's get straight into it, Mary, with you. Manchester United have been improving game by games this season. But against Chelsea, a nil-all draw, was that a blip or did you see improvement in that game as well?
No, I think it was a blip. I don't want to be too negative. I know we got a clean sheet and, we needed to stabilise our defence, but we also needed to win. We're playing catch up already. We have that game in hand that I don't know when it's going to be played, but we've lost too many games and we haven't won a home game since August against Lask. So while you can look at it in a positive way, it was a draw against our rivals and we got a clean sheet. At the same time, I think Ollie went out too defensive and he played for a draw. And we're in my opinion, we're playing catch up as it is. And it's not a good enough result for me. Overall, look, probably if we go on and beat Leipzig Wednesday night and we've beaten PSG, in hindsight, it's a decent result. But for me, I always want us to win. And if we're going to be competing for the top four, we need to be taking advantage when the other teams around us they're not picking up the results. Like City drew yesterday, so we needed to capitalise on that, and we didn't.
Right. Mipo, I want to come to you. I think Mary makes a good point in terms of us playing catch up. But in terms of performances, could you say that there were some positives there, and especially the Maguire and Lindelof partnership looks much more solid. Aaron Van Bissaka looks like he's getting back to his best. McTominay seems to be growing into that center defensive mid role. He yet can't make a forward pass. That's another thing. But he seems to be growing into that role. So do you think there were some positives in terms of individual performances that we can carry in the Leipzig
game? Yes, to be honest, there were some improvements of which Mary and we discussed on the channel, and we actually feel is due to the fact that their positions are actually being threatened on the team. Once there is no competition, everyone just goes down like they've got nothing to fight for. But once competition is being introduced, we see some improvements. We see players going on out, trying to preserve the space and all of that. So yes, in terms of personal, in terms of the players, in terms of individuality, yes, I could say yes, there were some improvements. And coming to McTominay, he still can't be a lone defensive midfielder on the team. Basically, he kind of complements Fred. Fred complements him. So I wouldn't. So yes, because when one of them went out yesterday, he was quite. Chelsea, their midfield actually gained on us, and yes, but yeah, overall in terms of individual performances, yeah, there were some improvements, and yeah, something we should be proud of.
Right. Right. And this brings me to another point about individuality out here again, because I think that a lot of the times, I think individual errors have cost us a lot this season, and we seem to bottle it in the big moment. But Rishi, can you say that over the season itself, that there has been some change in mentality, there has been some improvement in character, where players have been absolutely berated in the press, they've been berated on social media, and they've stood up and come back and stamped their authority, and they've come back and said, we're here to stay, we're not as bad as y'all are making out to be. Not to say that there aren't holes in this team, but has there been some improvement in that aspect as well?
In all honesty, Prasham, I don't see it. Frankly speaking, the game against Chelsea was one of the most boring games I've ever seen in my life. And I mean, both teams are to blame for that. It's not just United's fault. But I think Mary said it correctly. We set out way too defensively. Ole was clearly playing for the draw. I give credit to Ole for being bold and changing the lineup. I've been asking for it for a long time. I wanted to see Pogba off and I wanted to see some new midfielders in. But I don't think Mata was the right fit for this game as a starter. I think we could have played around a bit more with our formation as well. And it should have been either go home or go bold sort of game. And I think he played it way too safe in some areas and a little experimental in other areas. So overall, I think it's way too early for us to actually quantify the improvements if there are any. And I think Leipzig and the next month to come will be very important for us because players like Cavani will start getting into the team. And personally, I want to see more of Donny van de Beek. So I'm hoping these next few months will be when he's going to get a chance.
Right. I actually have a contrary view from y'all. I feel that it was the pragmatic thing to do to take that draw because I mean, at the end of the day, I agree with Mary that we're playing catch up. But I mean, Chelsea have quality all around, and if you give Werner, Havertz, Pulisic a chance to run, they'll run at you. And at the end of the day, it's two teams with similar qualities going at it, and I think the game played out in that sense. KG, both of them were trying the same things, and eventually, nothing happened. And but moving on to, I think Rishi brought up Ole. Uh, I want to come to you, Mary, to ask you that this we're coming up against one of the best managers in Europe. You could arguably call Julian Nagelsmann one of the best managers in Europe. He's young, he has creativity, he changes. Last season, he changed three formations within the season, and he said, "This doesn't work for me," he changes it. He's got a set of players that are good. People are focusing too much on the fact that Werner is gone. I think Marcel Sabitzer is probably one of the best midfielders in Europe at the moment. So, how do you think Nagelsmann is going to set up? And do you think Ole has enough in his tactical armory to fight Nagelsmann?
I think if he had it against Tuchel, he'll have it against Nagelsmann. We know Ollie can. People who say he has no tactics, I really don't understand, because what games have they been watching with us against the big teams? Because Ollie really pulls it out of the bag against the big teams. His record speaks for itself. He beat Pep 3 times last season, beat Lampard 3 times, beat Chelsea again the season before, has beaten Jose Mourinho. So it's in the lesser games that we struggle. So in those big teams, like, I was a little bit fearful going into that PSG game, because we know what Tuchel can do, and Nagelsmann, he kind of was a little bit of they worked together, the two of them. So I mean, he's learned kind of from him. We know that he's sort of being touted again as the baby Mourinho, only 33 as well. But yeah, look, people say they'd love him at Manchester United. He's a tactical genius. We know that, look, Leipzig press really, really hard. They do it from the front. They're strikers. They try and close the space down and the balls into the midfield. That's what he's going to do, because we massively struggle against the high press. And it's a thing Ollie needs to sort out for Wednesday's game, because if they get win back possession in those dangerous areas, we're in serious trouble with the midfield and the attacking creative players that they have. So I want to see Ollie really counteract their high press, because we don't seem to really have a tactical kind of a way around that. I haven't seen it from Ollie so far. So hopefully he'll be and Mike Phelan and Carrick McKenna as well. They need to have studied or RB Leipzig for this one, because we could be in for a rough ride if tactically we don't set up against their high press.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of agree with that, because at the end of the day, you're coming up against the likes. So Leipzig, first of all, have not lost this season. They're unbeaten.
No.
They've since Champions League, that defeat to PSG, they've been unbeaten. They looked good in that PSG game as well. Marcel Sabitzer, Emil Forsberg, Soliroth, all of these are good players. We can't just say that Werner is not in the team and we're going to have Leipzig pushovers. So, Mipo, how do you think United are going to line up? What is the predicted lineup according to you to sort of counter the likes of Forsberg and Sabitzer playing between the channels and putting the balls through?
To be honest, it's really hard to predict what Ole can do. Really, it's really hard because, like you said, Leipzig, they're not a small team. I've been trying to analyze that team since yesterday night, and trust me, I was having a headache because, to be honest, their manager is good. He knows exactly what he's doing. Their last games, they've not lost this season, if I'm correct,
Yeah,
and he does not use one particular lineup.
yeah.
He's got variations, right from 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3, 4-1-4-1. Trying to remember,
He's
four
even
two three
played three.
one.
He's even
The
played three
four
five
two,
two last season.
yes, and then the 4-2-3-1. He used it twice this season. He has used 3-4-3 twice this season. It's really hard to predict what he's going to come up with.
Hmm.
Really hard to predict. And I kind of watched a few highlights on YouTube, And to be honest, just like Mary said, they press high. And looking at the fact that we've got shaky defense, although yesterday, yes, they were really on point yesterday, but majority of the time, that defense they usually cost us a game. Looking at the fact that we've got shaky defense, is it's really hard. To be honest, it's really hard. I can't say this is exactly what Ole is going to do, but then I want to believe he's going to play a defense of five
Hmm.
to try and contain the flanks, because basically they hardly go through the middle. They make use of the flanks majority of the time. So I want to believe he's going to play with five defenders to actually contain the flanks and suppress whatever attacks that are coming with. And then we need to be careful of this guy, Christopher. I can't really pronounce the name. We need to
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
really careful of the guy. He's he's very smart. He's very smart. He's just like this guy of PSG. He knows how to coordinate the passes. Once the
Hmm.
ball gets to him, he knows exactly where the ball is going to go. And once he's with the ball, his players actually know where to run to. They know the spaces to run into because they know they're going to get the ball. So yes, they are very dangerous. But then I want to believe in Man United. Like
Yeah,
I want to believe we can do something.
yeah,
Really, yes, I want to believe because Oli actually turns up in big games. To
yeah.
be honest, he really does. Yes, I
That,
want to believe. I
that's
believe he's going to go with a backline of five.
yeah. Okay, Rishi, do you agree? Also, Mipo is talking about Nkuku, who sort of dictates their midfield play
Yeah.
quite beautifully. Rishi, do you think we'll play a back five? Do you think we're going with a back five? Who do you think is going to be in that back five? So just can you, if you can, what according to you is going to be a starting 11 and what formation?
Yeah, so just adding to what Mary and Mipo said, I think the reason why Ole performs so well against the big teams is because he does what no one expects him to do, which is change the formation, and that makes us a little bit of the underdog side, and he drills the players for these sort of games. So we've seen more individual efforts, and formations like 3-5-2 do require an individual effort, especially while going forward, because you're usually only three passes away from losing the ball or trying to get into the other person's box. So I completely agree that Ole is definitely going to go for five at the back, and I think he's going to pick a similar lineup to what he played against PSG. With Teles on the left, and uh, I think
Shaw,
he's
Maguire,
starting.
and Lindelof, or does Twanzebe start for you?
Yeah, Twanzebe is going to start, in my opinion, simply because I think. He was rested against Chelsea as well. He had a good performance against PSG. We know Leipzig are going to press us, and we saw Twanzebe do a good job against the press that PSG had against us. He was one of the better defenders in that game. So I think he is going to get the start. I'm a little unsure about midfield because we've seen Ole switch around the midfield quite a bit. He had dropped Pogba for both the games. Uh, he's not sure whether he wants to play Matic. Last season he was a big fan of Matic. This season Matic has barely touched the ball. So I'm with Meepo over here. I don't know what to expect from this lineup. All I agree with is I think we are definitely going to play five at the back, and I'm not making any calls on the players.
It seems like no one wants to commit to what lineup there is we're going to play with. Mary, let me ask you then: do you start Harry Maguire in this game, or do you bench club captain Harry Maguire? Do you bring Paul Pogba in, or do you continue with Fred and McTominay? Does Edinson Cavani start? I mean, I think it's up to you now to answer these questions because they've passed the buck on.
If it was me, I wouldn't start Maguire. I probably wouldn't because they're going to be quick and I would start Axel. Absolutely, I would play the same back five as that started against PSG because they deserve to start. They were superb, all five of them. um I wouldn't start Pogba. But then I wouldn't play Fred McTominay either, even though again they were excellent against PSG, especially Fred. I just think it's probably a game too far. They played yesterday; they weren't really great either of them. So I personally, I would play Fred alongside Van der Beek, but I don't think Ollie is going to start Van der Beek. Um, and I wouldn't start Cavani. I would start Martial.
That's interesting. I think I personally think that McTominay. I personally think Pogba will start this game. I think he's got the message that you have to perform or you're going to lose your place. And I personally think he'll start this game for the reasons you said, that I think Fred and McTominay have played too many games back to back, and I feel Donny van de Beek does not give us this presence in defense that we might need tomorrow. I feel that Bruno Fernandes and Donny van de Beek do similar roles. What Evra has been shouting out, they do similar roles. While I don't agree with him that we didn't need Van de Beek, I think we do need Van de Beek to give Bruno a rest from time to time and play him in smaller games. But I think Pogba needs to step up, and like I think he's been given the message, and I do see him starting. But Mipo, you mentioned that you believe United can do it. Now, PSG are, of course, clear favorites in this group when the groups were drawn, and we went out and beat them. Now, 1 week on, we take on Leipzig, who people have been saying it's between us and them as to who qualifies. So, potentially, we need about 4 points from this game, and that would secure from the two fixtures at Leipzig, and that would secure qualification. So, would you take a draw tomorrow, or do you think we can pull off the win?
Uh, dep- it depends really, but I want to believe we're going to pull off a win, really, because like we've rightly said, like Mary rightly said rather, Oli actually performs, he turns up in big games, and I want to believe that the coaches and the analysts at the club would have done a really good job if we as fans would actually come up with an idea of how they play. What's more, the analysts that are actually being paid to do the job, basically. Yeah. So I want to believe we're going to win, depending on the lineup. And one thing needs to be present, that is the winning mentality. What we saw at the PSG game, even with the own goal that was considered, there was no discouragement within the team. Everyone picked themselves up and they fought for every inch of grass on that pitch. And if we can see the same character we've been shouting about, if we can see that winning mentality, that even if we concede first, we still keep going because it is not over till it is over. So yes, I want to believe that yes, we can pull off a win.
Right. So, what scoreline would you go for then?
Because I'm not sure we're going to keep a clean sheet, I
Hmm.
would say 2-1
Okay. And your player to watch out for
United.
this game?
Like I said, Christopher, the guy is good.
Okay. And
He's
from
really
United?
good. We've got a lot of amazing players.
Okay.
Really.
Okay.
We've got a lot of amazing players.
Okay. Rishi, 2-1 for you
All
as
our
well.
players are in danger.
Hopefully what you're saying is true. And Bruno assists one for Rashford, and Pogba assists one for
Exactly. All our
Martial, and
players are dangerous. They are lethal in front of goal. So yes, all our players. You
right.
can't say you want to cage one, the others will always turn up. That's just basically how it is.
That's actually true. So one thing we don't sort of have to worry about, one thing we can be proud of in this team is us going forward. I think we are absolutely equivalent to any top team in Europe when we go forward. So Rishi, 2-1 for you as well, or are you going for a bigger result towards United or a shock loss, or what do you think?
No, I think Prasham, what we're going to see is a similar style of play to what we did against Chelsea, where we rely upon a moment of brilliance to get the
Counter.
one goal, and then we shut down because, like you said, right now it's all about the maths. We have to get through. It doesn't matter if we come first or second. We have to get through, and I think that's going to play through Ole's mind as well. So I think we're going to see United sneak a 1-0 in, and I think it's going to be a penalty from Bruno Fernandes, our very own. I mean, my odds of going wrong are pretty low right now.
uh, Mary, you said we haven't got a win at Old Trafford. Could this be the chance?
I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, yeah.
I just can't see us keeping a clean sheet, and I'd love to see us win, obviously, and I hope we win, but I our home form is terrible right now, so I think a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I think actually I'm going to agree with you. I too think it's going to be a draw, a 1-all draw. And while Mipo said we have a lot of players going forward, I don't disagree to that. But I think, like last time I predicted this, I'm going to say it again. David De Gea again is going to have to stand up. I think it is going to be again one of those nights where he has to have a great night. Otherwise, we aren't, because let's face it, Leipzig, PSG are the big boys of Europe right now. They are right up there, and these are the days where you need your world-class goalkeeper to stand up. Like every goalkeeper stands up against Man United somehow. We need David De Gea to turn up as well. So I think personally, 1-1 draw with David De Gea again pulling off some beautiful saves, and yeah, and 4 points from two games against Leipzig and PSG. That's potentially seven after our first three games. I take that after the groups that have been drawn. So I think it's I think if you get 3 points at Paris, one against Chelsea and then one against Leipzig, I don't think you can fault Ole too much, keeping in mind that there is Arsenal still to come after that. So I think we are in sort of a tough run of fixtures, unlike some of the other teams who complain about the schedule while they're in Europas. But that's for another video. So guys, we are optimistic. We're definitely sure we aren't losing this one. Whether we might sneak the 3 points in as we did against PSG, where mind you we were the better team, or we get a 1-1 draw. Either way, I think pragmatically the way we look at it is that we take those points right now, and that's about it. Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, be careful of Sabitzer, Forsberg, and Nkuku. But apart from that, I think it'll be a cracking game as well. So let's hope it's not a snooze fest because we have to stay up at 1:30 now since daylight savings
Oh
is past.
God.
So
And let's hope that our lineup does not get leaked, really, because if it does, we're fucked, literally. Because that was what killed us yesterday. For real, because looking at the lineup that Lampard set out yesterday, it was actually to counter the lineup that we actually set out.
yeah,
Because that was a counterproductive lineup that Lampard set out yesterday, and that was what killed us, basically.
yeah, yeah.
So I really do hope that, because if I see any Twitter handle tweeting the lineup, I am going to report it to get blocked. You don't do that to your club,
Yeah,
really. Don't focus up again.
yeah, absolutely.
So if you are listening, please don't do that. That's
Yeah,
rubbish.
absolutely. So thanks Mary, thanks Meepo for joining us. Do go and check out She Devils United. Their YouTube page and their Instagram are in our description below. Go do check them out. Subscribe to our channel if you're new here. We'll be coming out with the review, of course, and lots of other stuff. We're even coming up with a virtual museum tour. So watch out for those videos, and we'll see you all soon with another one. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye.